Why take FPL advice from one expert when you can take advice from 100 of them? Welcome to FPL Mate, my name is Dan, and with a big Gabriel injury, a tough captaincy decision, and wild cards activating again in Game Week 31, it's time to see what the experts are doing in the new game week. So first of all, a massive shout out to the 100 FPL experts that helped us out with their data this week. This was a super last minute video to try and put together because I wanted to put this video out earlier on the Friday, so we still have time to do one more video where I will update you guys on my own wildcard for Game Week 31. So big shout out to these guys helping out for this very last minute video, but hopefully we're going to get some good data today. And in general, these are the trends. So we are seeing a lot of our experts rolling the transfer this week because there were so many wild cards used last week, and that's why we didn't make a video last week. We don't track the wild card data for individual game weeks in this series because it just takes so long to track, 15 players from so many different experts. It's so many transfers to keep track of, and these videos take a long while to make as it is, so apologies for that, guys. But we are seeing this week 37% no transfer this week, and the other trends are 32% making one transfer and 26 new wildcarders for Game Week 31 as well. We have 5 experts making 2 transfers this week, but there's no one making 3 or more transfers. It's not a big week for making wholesale changes to the teams because I think so many of our experts are already set up for the upcoming game week. So just minimal changes, and I'm sure you guys can imagine a lot of them will be around the likes of Gabriel, and we are going to be talking about replacements for him, as well, of course, as the captaincy, which is genuinely a big decision this week. So looking through the global top picks, and as we mentioned, there are not too many big transfer moves being made this week by our experts, and as such, we're not seeing major changes in the trends among these players. So these are the top global picks. These are what the overall FPL player base are doing, who they are bringing in, and Saka is by far the #1 transfer in this week, followed by the likes of Marmoush and Saliba with pretty significant numbers there as well. Not too many transfers elsewhere, but in terms of our experts, if there is any kind of correlation with the trends, our experts certainly like Saliba. He is having a big positive trend. Lots of new transfers in for him, and a few transfers in for Saka as well. We're going to see the overall ownership of a lot of these players as well, so you guys can see what the expert template looks right about now, which could help you really if you are on a wild card this week or you are making transfers, even if we don't have a huge amount of transfer data this week. So not too much changes in the expert trends among these popular picks, but there are some other players who aren't on this list that our experts are interested in. But first of all, I want to have a look at the transfers out, and yes, we do see Gabriel as the #1 most sold player among experts. He was at 81% owned last week. We've got 23 transfers out for him among the non-wildcarders. I imagine all of the wildcarders will be removing Gabriel from their team as well, so he is going to have his ownership slashed. But I do think there's still going to be around half of our experts will still have Gabriel come the Game Week 31 deadline. And I think a big part of that is just maybe waiting for more information. Maybe they can cover Gabriel with another defender that they have in their squad right now, and maybe wait one more week before committing to a Gabriel transfer. So yes, a lot of people, a lot of our experts, a lot of the top managers will be removing Gabriel from their FPL teams this week, but not everyone. It's probably going to be about 50-50 by the time we hit deadline, with the other 50% waiting for more information. So don't feel too much pressure, guys. If you do want to make a move elsewhere in your team, or you want to roll a transfer, I think that is totally fine, even if you do have Gabriel in your team. But 81% ownership last week just shows how many managers will be affected by this Gabriel injury. It really is a lot of people who are going to be forced to make a transfer, if not this week, in the very near future, which is quite crazy. We're also seeing some transfers out for Kluivert here with his injury. We're not sure if he's going to be available for Game Week 31 or not at time of recording, but a few transfers out for him, as well as maybe some people giving up on the likes of Foden after just one game week, but only 2. Most Foden owners will be keeping on to him. Dango sees a couple of transfers out. We think we'll see more transfers out for the likes of Dango and Kluivert when we include the wildcarders. And outside of that, it's just a whole bunch of random players. We've got Trent, Hall, maybe players that have been kept in squads despite their injuries recently. Lewis, Mazraoui, Mikolenko, Pickford. But the big trend really seems to be defenders and midfielders. These are the kind of players being sold this week, and the forwards aren't really being touched by our experts this week. They are being held in the squad, whoever they might be. And we are going to have a look at who the most popular forwards among expert squads are in a very short moment. But before we do that, we do need to say please do like the video if you do appreciate this last minute effort to put together 100 experts video. Hopefully next week we'll have much better transfer data in particular, because that is so exciting. But yeah, do leave a like, subscribe if you want to follow along with the expert trends every week. Let's keep it moving, and we are going to have a look at the transfers in among experts. And here he is, Saliba, just 5% owned last game week among experts, but with 12 new transfers in, plus any wildcard transfers in, he is going to see an increase in his ownership this week. So here's the #1 transfer target according to our experts, and the #1 Gabriel replacement. Livramento is also in here as a pretty popular pick, with Newcastle facing Leicester in game week 31, and with the double game week in 32. We're going to see a lot of Newcastle players coming into the teams of the top managers. So 5 transfers in for Livramento, 4 transfers in for Burn, which is going to mean that Burn is slightly more popular in expert squads than Livramento. We also see a few more transfers in for Jacob Murphy. He should be at least 50% owned by the game week 31 deadline, and yet more transfers in for Saka as well. A couple of random transfers in for Fabian Schär. Did not expect to see him in this video, but he was 0% owned last week, so he is not going to be a huge player for the experts generally. A few more transfers in for Trippier, despite him being flagged. The latest on Newcastle is that Isak and Trippier, it seems that they were mostly substituted off as precautions, and with their fixture on Monday, we are hoping that they're both going to be available, but you can never be absolutely sure. One more transfer in for Gvardiol, Asensio, and Munoz here as well. So let's update you guys on the template, and again, this doesn't include the game week 31 wildcard data, so I imagine that a lot of these players will end up higher ownership by the deadline. But just want to go over the average game week 30 scores for our experts. The average score was 50.9 points. So if you scored more than 50 points, I suppose, then you have outscored the experts in game week 30. So congratulations to you guys. The average rank among experts continues to improve, now up to 144k, with 41% of the experts now in the top 100k, with 13% now in the top 10k. This is going to go up and up and up as our experts execute their chip strategies. But what is interesting is that only 91% are in the top 1 million. We still see 9% of our experts outside of the top 1 million. And I am trying to work out why this might be, because I know a lot of people, every video they say, how can you be an expert if you are outside the top 1 million? Believe me, guys, when I gather my experts, the experts that we use for this data, they are people with great rank histories, people who get consistently good ranks in the past. Occasionally, they will have a bad season. That is normal. And I think maybe with dealing with large numbers like this, you are going to see a small percentage in any given season falling outside of that kind of outside what is expected, some outliers, if you like, in the data. So I think that is part of it. But also, I'm not really seeing this number improve much. It seems like the experts that we have who are outside of the top 1 million, whilst everyone else is getting into the top 100k and the top 10k, the average rank is going up every single week. There seems to be a few people struggling to break into the top 1 million. And I wonder if that is just because certain experts find themselves such low rank at this time of the season that they are just making crazy decisions and trying to force differentials, and it's not really coming off. I've definitely been in that position before, maybe not quite at that kind of rank, but yeah, I definitely can sympathize with it. So it's interesting, but generally I do still have full faith in the expert data, and really the trends we see are not the differentials. They're not the crazy picks. The trends that we see are those players that most of the experts agree upon, and they are going to be the stronger managers for this particular season will be picking these guys. So anyway, this is the template, guys. We've got Raya and Areola as the template goalkeepers right now, with a defense of Munoz, Gvardiol, Gabriel, who is seeing a significant drop-off, Burn, and Kirkes finally here as well. I think we might see a couple of other defenders sneak in the near future instead of Gabriel and Kirkes, but this is just where we're at right now. In midfield, 100% ownership for Salah, no change there. Ismail Assar is at 56%, and he's the second most popular midfielder. We've got Murphy, Saka, and Palmer to complete the midfield template. And really, what we see here is probably the biggest chance to make a difference here. Outside of Salah, there is no midfielder that is super high owned. The best case scenario is kind of Saar, Murphy, around 50%, Saka as well, maybe. So I think in midfield, I think that is where you're going to make the difference between yourselves and maybe some of your rivals. And then up front, pretty straightforward. Isak, Marmoush, Mateta. No surprise to see these three as the most popular forwards. And I think that is going to continue on over the next couple of game weeks. So not really too much change other than Gabriel dropping a little bit, few improvements to the Newcastle players in particular, and a few more people picking up Saka as well. Let's suggest some transfers before we move on to captains. So we're not going to suggest any combo transfers this week because really it doesn't seem to be a week to be making combo transfers. So if you've got multiple transfers, genuinely, it might be worth saving them, but I imagine most of you guys just have one transfer to use right now, and you're probably thinking about using it on Gabriel. So the top three Gabriel replacements are Saliba, Livramento, and Burns. So if you want to make a transfer for your Gabriel, replace him with a new Arsenal defender, or if you haven't got a Newcastle defender, or you only have two Newcastle players right now, maybe Livramento or Burn could help you out there a little bit. Nice and cheap as well, so you can reinvest your money elsewhere in your squad. We actually saw a few people upgrade Cliver to Saka this week. I don't know where the money came from, maybe selling Haaland last week, to be honest. Dango to Murphy is also a possible move here if you're looking to go cheap for cheap, like for like, and Foden to Saka could work out pretty well as well if you've given up on Foden, but most of our experts will be keeping Foden. So I would probably only make this move if it's your only route to Saka. If you've got another route to get Saka into your team, I would probably consider that one first. And finally, captaincy. And yes, it is in fact Alexander Isak at the top of this list. Despite his yellow Dorito of death, I know that is going to scare off a lot of people, but our experts seem mostly unfazed. 64% captaining the informed Newcastle striker at home against Leicester. And when we look through the different captains options this week, it really is the Newcastle-Leicester fixture that stands above the rest. So you can understand why, despite a potential injury, that we do see a lot of people going for Isak versus Leicester. Now, what a lot of my experts did say this week is that they have made sure they have set a vice captain. And if there's any definitive news that Isak is out, they obviously will be switching their captain to someone else, with Salah being the second most popular pick. He is at 31% with this Fulham away fixture. But Fulham away is a much tougher fixture than Leicester at home. And Salah maybe not been in the most amazing form recently, considering his usual standard that we do hold him to, which is insanely high. But yeah, Isak is going to be the most popular captain this week. Are you brave enough to go with it? If not, is Salah that backup option for you? Then you're going to have to decide for yourself, guys. But I can only present what the experts are doing. And to be honest, I think I kind of agree with them. I'm happy to take a risk on Isak myself. After that, we've got a couple of random 1%ers. Bruno Fernandes against Man City. We've got Gordon against Leicester. Trying to maybe go for a different Newcastle angle. Marmoush against Manchester United. One captaincy for him. Although a few people did say that Marmoush was going to be their vice captain, which is quite interesting there. One person going for Palmer, one person going for Saka. So really is a bit of a deserted wasteland in the captain kind of conversation outside of Isak and Salah this week. But at least we do have two options. If you don't want to go for Isak, Salah is a pretty nice alternative. But for the risky managers among you, yeah, I think Isak is probably the way to go at this point, certainly according to our expert data. But yeah, super quick video today, guys. If you have any questions or anything like that, please do feel free to leave them in the comment section. I'll be happy to help you guys out. Do like, subscribe if you're new around here, and we will be back this afternoon for a team selection video for my final wildcard Gameweek 31 team. Check out Buy Sell Keep Avoid if you want to, and I will see you later for another video. See you later, mates. Bye bye.